In this video I'm going to show you how to make inexpensive front panels. Here's one that I did that's been glued. I haven't sealed it yet, just for an example, and I haven't trimmed the wood yet. You always want the wood to be a little bigger. We'll get into that in a minute. It makes a pretty fancy looking panel there for a piece of plywood and a piece of PowerPoint printed paper on it. So let's talk about some of the details. When you print, you want to render or print out exactly 1-to-1 scale, 1 inch square or 1 centimeter square. And that is because sometimes you're going to have labels and artwork and components, because this is also your drill guide as well. It's not only your printer, but you're going to very carefully drill afterwards. And you want your components, some of your components have to be placed precisely. These are going to be 5-way binding posts, banana binding posts, and they have to be exactly 0.75 inches apart. So if you print this and it comes out a little bigger or smaller, you're going to see that this is not the right distance. So you're going to have to try on some example, just print out some paper, put these on just on a plain sheet of paper so you don't waste a lot of ink, and keep playing with resizing these until these come out to be exactly 1 inch or 1 centimeter square. Then you know whatever you draw on that page will come out 1-to-1 scale. It's important mostly to get 1-to-1 scale. All right. But you can put anything you want because it's color, and I did this on a regular inkjet printer, so you can lay it out any way you want. And this area right here is what's going to go into a notch. This is exactly 1/4 inch distance around, and when you make the board, when you make the box, you're going to put a notch in it. 0.25 inches deep, 0.25 inches back, and 2.15 inches wide. The 0.215 is just wide enough for the board with a little bit of paper, so you don't damage the board or the paper, and just a slightly loose fit. And here's an example of one. This is for a ventilator. You're going to have a notch that goes all the way around roughly, and that's going to hold the panel in place. And we'll have another one on the back. So we're not going to get into making the notch, but that's pretty much, if you're into woodworking, you'll see that this board will go into a notch. Alright, so I wanted to show you, this is one that I did just to get us going, and this is one that I messed up. And if you look carefully, there's quite a big difference. This one I haven't coated with the clear matte enamel yet, and this one I decided, since I messed up, I got some glue on it, and a hair, and a little bit of blemish there, and I touched it up with a pen. Don't ever touch it up with an ink pen, it's going to run. I decided to give this a really quick heavy coat, and what it does is it bleeds through. Now some of you might like that wood grain finish, and you can do that then, but if you don't want the wood finish, you want it to look like this, we're going to use very, 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 I can't remember, fine coats of a clear matte enamel finish. I like to use enamel because it's tough, but this is pretty much waterproof and dirt proof, so if you get water on this, it's not going to soak into the paper and ruin it, and if you get dirty hands, you can always wipe it off. We're going to put, after we get a few thin coats, then we can start playing thicker and thicker. This is the first few coats we want very thin on the paper so it doesn't stick into the paper, it rests on top. Alright, so let's talk about, you can pause that to get an idea of what we're doing here. Okay, remember, rendering the printing of your image 1-to-1 scale is very important. And you can make these, I've made these up in 8.5 by 11. If you have a bigger printer, you can make it on bigger sheets. I'm limited to 8.5 by 11, but I'm making a smaller panel here just for our demo. So let's go on to the next slide. Some of the materials you're going to need. Well, you're going to need a label. I've already cut one out. You're going to need 2 pieces of plywood. A little bit bigger than the label. This is a nice piece. I don't like that side, but that's going to be my finished side. That's the side I'm going to paste the label onto right there. Right? Then you're going to need another one you're going to sandwich and you're going to put pressure on. This one's pretty messed up looking. I don't like that one, but that's going to be good for putting the pressure on. And then you're going to need some wax paper or plastic cling wrap. I didn't have any, but I have some aluminium or aluminum foil that works just as well, and that's going to keep the sandwich of the boards from sticking together when we glue the label down, because we're going to have to hold the label down with pressure. Then you're going to need some good high quality wood glue, and you're going to need what I call a shop razor. You don't shave with these, but you see they're stiff. They're like for working in the shop. And you need a bunch of books, probably about 4 decent-sized books. You don't need a lot of weight. You need about 2 psi, pounds per square inch, whatever that is in newtons. And then you're going to need some really high-quality matte clear enamel spray. Rust-Oleum, I've used this a lot. It's clear, it's matte, so it won't have a shiny look to it when it's dry, and it's enamel. It's tough. But this is going to be how we're going to put the how we put this on is going to give us a difference whether we end up with a white-looking or a wood grain looking, and that's up to you. Alright, so let's talk about the procedure. And what we're going to do is we're going to take our board, put the grain we want it, and we're going to put some glue down. Then we're going to take the razor blade and we're going to squeegee this. Okay, and this is where things pick up, because steps 2 through 8 have to be done in about 30 seconds because the glue will start drying. So as we're squeegeeing this, you're going to get glue on the sides and all over your work surface, so protect your work surface and wipe it up. Alright, and then you're going to stick the label down, and you're going to be very careful not to get any glue on your hands like I did with this one. You can see the blemish I made there. So make sure your hands are, maybe wear a smock or something that you don't care about. Wipe your hands, keep plenty of paper towels around and whatnot. And you're going to put the label down and smooth it lightly so don't get glue in your hands. And then we're going to put the wax paper or foil over that, and then we're going to sandwich it. So it's going to be this, the foil, sandwich, and put weights on it. Okay? And that all has to be done within 30 seconds because the glue will start to dry and then your label won't stick too well. Alright, so let's get into that. And then I'm going to go off camera when I put the weight down, because I don't have books, but I have some heavy duty weight here that I can control, and I can get about 2 to 3 pounds per square inch on that. And we're going to let it dry for an hour before we tear it apart. And when we come back in an hour, the second part of the video, you'll end up with something that looks something like this. And then we'll trim it on the saw and we'll get it all nice and square. Alright, so let's see, that's about it. We can go into the next phase a little bit. So after it's done and it's dry, we're going to use our clear matte spray, and we're going to hold it like 18 inches away. And we're just going to do a quick misting, very light mist. And this is going to rest on the surface of the paper. Okay? And it's not going to soak in, because if it soaks in again, we get the wood grain effect. And you're going to let that dry for 10 minutes. And then you're going to do 2 or 3 coats, maybe 3 coats of that very fine mist, and wait 10 minutes in between each one. Then you can start getting progressively closer, because once we seal the surface with this, with 3 or 4 coats maybe, of light coats, then the heavier coats can go on and won't sink into the paper. We're just building up the layers on top of it. And that is the art and science of this, is getting that on there. Alright, and I'm going to show you how to do it, and we'll get good results. And then when you're done, you let it dry for an hour, and you're ready to go. You're ready to put it into your box. Ready to go. Remember that the first few coats must be very, very light. Alright, so let's get into it. I'm going to show you how to do that right now. And my work surface, this is not a real ESD surface, so this is just a piece of rubber that my brother, he was a printer, they use in big printing machines. This is what they use for the printing process. So they clean it with acetone. So you can see it's all beat up. This is not an ESD workstation. Don't ever do this on it. If you have an ESD workstation, please don't destroy your ESD by working on it like this, okay? We're going to peel away the excess glue. And we're going to get a good amount of glue on this. Somewhat like what we showed in the picture. Okay? We got that. And we're going to take our blade, and this is where you got to be careful not to get, you don't care about getting it off the edge. We're just going to start lightly wiping this to get the glue everywhere where we want it to go. Okay? This is the rough. Just get it kind of on there. Alright? This is okay. We're thick, so we're okay now. Once I thin this out, that's when the 30-second timer starts in your head. You're only going to have about 30 seconds. So we're going to put that down, and I'm going to find something to wipe this with. Bear with. There we go. A little piece of paper. I'm going to wipe off the excess from the blade. As I drop the blade. Bear with me. Bear with. Who watches Miranda Hart? I love that show. Bear with, bear with. Every time this other girl's on the phone there. All right, so now this is the key part. We're going to squeegee all this excess off. Okay, squeegee, wipe, squeegee, wipe, squeegee, squeegee. I put a lot of glue on there, didn't I? That's okay, and it's okay if it comes off the edge. All right, we just want to get this nice thin coat. Now, here's the last coat, last squeege. I'm wiping the back of my hand. That'll work nice. All right, so we're still getting excess off of here. So we want this to be very thin coat. Now you can see, we're picking up very little on the blade now. We don't care if it, that's perfect. Okay, wipe your hands. Make sure all the glue is done, and then we're going to get this label on here. And we're not going to care if it's too square. We're just going to get it on there, put it down, lay it down nice and flat. Then you're going to get your wax paper or foil or what have you. Put that down. Put your sandwich down, and get weight on it. Now all that, so once they got thin, the glue got very thin, you got about 30 seconds to get that going, okay? And you can see I got glue on my hand because it was quicker to wipe the excess glue on my hand. So I'm going to give that a nice hard press for a couple seconds, and then I'm going to put it on the weights, which is off screen here. Okay. And we're going to let that dry for about an hour. I'm going to clean up this mess here. And we're going to come back, and when I come back, we'll have something that looks like this, but I'm going to already cut it on the saw to trim this up. So again, you don't care if it's going to be square or not. I can square this up on my saw very easily. And we're going to cut it right to that edge, and then we're going to start coating it with the matte finish. Alright, so this is part 1 of 2. Stand by for part 2.